This is Austin, state capital of Texas. It is a city brimming with culture. It has a fantastic music scene, and the food has to be experienced to be believed. What are we interested in? Well, of course, it is the Circuit of the Americas, an iconic track, relatively young, but one which provides such objectives for our Ferrari Challenge drivers, especially in 2024, as we take to the track with a brand new car, the Ferrari 296 Challenge, as we launch what will be an epic season of Ferrari Challenge racing. Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to COTA. Goodness me, that was me on screen just for a moment. Here we are then with the first of the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell races to come across this weekend. Of course, in Ferrari Challenge we have the wonderful Coppa Shell and Coppa Shell AM drivers, as well as the Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers. Now, in qualifying earlier on, it was a fantastic job done by Cyril Choksi from Ferrari of Denver to put it effectively pole position for the Shell drivers. Incidentally, the Shell drivers have a yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, so you can ID which is a Shell driver. If it's a Shell AM driver, they have the black strip across the top of the windscreen. What a brilliant calendar we have this year. We launch it all here in the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Then it's off to California, Laguna Seca. Then we support Formula One, Montreal. Then it's the Watkins Glen International. I'm particularly looking forward to that, having never been there. Then it's Sonoma, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then, of course, the Finale Mondiale. That is at Imola mid-October. So, Circuit of the Americas then. This is what it's like. It's round one of the Ferrari Challenge North America for 2024. It's a very, very interesting circuit of some 5.5 kilometers or 3.42 miles. And counterclockwise, and the climb into turn number one, which is some 133 feet. The track is actually located about 18 miles or 25 minutes drive time from central Austin, depending on what the traffic is like. So there we are. The weather conditions then that greet us here this afternoon. Cloudy and overcast, track temperature 35 degrees, the air temperature here is 27, the humidity at 70% with 22 kilometers per hour of wind, just taking the heat off if you're standing outside. And here in the booth, I'm delighted with me for this Coppa Shell race and every race is Tony Villander, the Ferrari ambassador. We're in for a good one.
Yeah, we had a great opening race for this afternoon. The Trofeo Pirelli, and now it's Coppa Shell drivers. I think the teams and the drivers are in the phase where they learn about the race car. If you have in the team drivers in the both races, I think there's information between the tire pressures, how to handle the car in the race distance. Like I mentioned before, these are the first impressions for the drivers and the teams in the real test, in a real race. Testing where you have 6-8 hours during a day is a different rhythm.
Yes.
The 30-minute race, you learn always more and new things. So also for these drivers was important to watch the Trofeo Pirelli race as the start and how everybody was handling the race distance. So now it's up to the Coppa Shell drivers to show what they can deliver.
And I'm sure they will deliver in spades. Tony and myself will try and bring you the action. And down there on the pit wall is Shay Adam. Good afternoon, Shay.
Good afternoon, Dave. You can see it's gotten a little bit windier by my hair not quite cooperating as much, but thankfully I'm facing in the right direction. So the cars are on the grid. We are waiting as they come in for their recon lap. Then we'll tell them to fire their engines again. But I want to point out a couple of cars before we get things going. Number 107 to begin with. This is Ray Acosta. Ray's car completely rebuilt. Mad props to his crew for efforting and not quitting, because a couple of days ago on his third lap out on the track, I think it was, the car was basically destroyed. His crew worked tirelessly. They got it repaired. Ray qualified 4th as a thank you to them. He's looking for his first Coppa Shell win. Alongside him, Eric Marston, car number 126. Eric is a series staple. He said to me this morning he wants to get trophies this year. His goal, to get a pole position before the end of the year. But today, he would like to celebrate with a little bit of champagne to try and kick things off. Eric's another one of these guys who's still looking for his first Coppa Shell win, as is Jan Bernier, qualified on the front row of the grid for today's race, car number 132. He's got the familiar blue and orange livery, and he's got a clear view going into turn 1. But alongside him, a man who knows very well what it is to have a clear view into turn 1, because for race number 1 of last year, that was at Homestead Miami Speedway, but it was Mr. Cyril Choksi who was on pole there. He's on pole here today as well. And guess what happened in race number 1 last year at Homestead? Pole to the win for Cyril. So let's see if history can repeat itself today at Circuit of the Americas.
Thank you, Shay. Cyril Choksi then, I was chatting to him earlier on. He's, as indeed is the case with all of our drivers in the Ferrari Challenge, all lovely people and lovely people to talk to. But Cyril Choksi doing a very, very good job in qualifying, as did Jan Bernier, who I had the privilege of sitting on a bus with in Le Mans last year. There we are, as a little claim to fame, Jan Bernier and I sharing a seats alongside each other on a bus at Le Mans. Lisa Clark then, of course, a champion last year, elevated to Coppa Shell this year. Let's go back to Shay once again.
Drivers, start your Ferrari engines.
And upon Shay's command, every driver does as they are told and starts their engines. And also a big well done to the team from the collection for rebuilding that Ray Acosta car. That's no mean feat, I have to say, you know, and actually, Ray, as Shay alluded to, thanking the teams for all their efforts by trying to qualify as far high up the order as he can. Because I know I've mentioned this before, but every racing driver has got a great team behind him, Tony.
Yeah, I visited the team on Thursday and Friday, and there was a lot of work to be done. Great effort from the team, but also shows the skill level of different crews, different teams, what they are able to do, and basically the whole car was down to parts and rebuilt again. Even some welding stuff was done, so great effort from the team, but also the driver today in qualifying performed really well, and for sure he's looking forward to deliver a good result for the team.
So pole position for our Shell driver Cyril Choksi. We'll bring you the grid in full in due course. And brilliant pole position for Shell Am for Talal Sher and Jerry Walters. I want to make mention of Jerry Walters. Bubbles then doing a great job taking it to P2 in the Shell Am drivers. So we have some 27 cars out there on the track, and what a sight this is as our camera there, which is right on the tarmac, as you can see, as the drivers then making their exit now, and race control inform us that the formation lap is underway. This is the Ferrari Challenge North America, our Coppa Shell race about to get underway. 30 minutes of race action to come. So climbing up the hill then, there is the Jerry Walters car, the all pink machine, these 296s. Something I used to say a lot in previous years of the 488 Challenge Evo is the fact that when you've got this as a blank canvas, a car like this, Tony, it really gives the drivers and the teams the opportunity to be so creative in terms of the colour schemes and the livery that they come up with. And we'll talk about that just after we take a look at the grid, because here it is in full. P1 for Cyril Choksi. P2 for Jan Bernier alongside. He could be a danger man from there. So too could Eric Marston and Ray Acosta, in fairness. They go from row 2. It's P3 and P4 respectively. To the next row of the grid is John Viscup and Chuck Whittle. They go from P5 and to P6. Then it's Bruce Cleveland and Mitchell Green who are going from the 4th row of the grid, P7 and P8. Bruce Cleveland knows what it's like to overtake. Let's see if he can do that this afternoon. Robert McWilliams and Lisa Clark then are P9 and P10. Next we get into row 6, where P11 for Mike Luley and Osvaldo Gallo, he goes from P12. P13 for Matt Dalton, and then Talil Scher is the best of the Coppa Shell AM drivers. As we get to the AM drivers in our grid now, with Jerry Walters taking a brilliant P2 and Roy Carroll not far behind for P3, but of course it is P15 and P16 on the grid overall. Dana Goodwin and Jeff Nunberg then, they go from P17 and P18. Next it's going to be Steve Check and Darren Bernstein. They are P19 and P20. As we go to the 11th row of our Ferrari Challenge North America Coppa Shell AM grid, Brian Waltersdorf and Paul Lynn, they are P21 and P22. To the 12th row, it's Neil Langberg and Gabe Harib. They go from P23 and P24. And then to the 13th row of our starting grid, where we find Helen Chu and Al Hegyi. And then to the final row of the grid, which is row 14, and therefore P27 and P28 for David Williams and Roger Monteforte. So, as I was saying, Tony Milander, when you've got the opportunity to be creative with a beautiful piece of machinery that is a Ferrari 296, some of the color schemes are awesome.
Yeah, the teams and the drivers delivered also this year with this new car model. There is some beautiful designs, beautiful colors, and some colors really point out even in the TV pictures. So easy to spot certain drivers and teams.
Yes, and that makes the job really, really enjoyable for us. Of course, nearly every driver's got different livery this year, so my brain is working overload. And as those of you that know me knows, the brain working overload is not necessarily a good thing, as I try to recall who's in what car now in terms of the colour schemes, but we'll get there, I think. So there we can see the 179 car of Green, and alongside is the Bruce Cleveland car, and then right behind them is that wonderful looking car. With a colour scheme to really behold. Fantastic stuff. All lined up behind the Richard Mills safety car then. Here at the Circuit of the Americas for Coppa Shell Race 1, our mix of Shell and Shell AM drivers. As is always the case in the Ferrari Challenge, it is a rolling start, so the cars will line up side by side in grid formation. The safety car peels off into the pit lane, and now it is the responsibility of Cyril Choksi to head the cars towards the green flag. Hold on, we are about to go racing. Ferrari Challenge, Coppa Shell. We await the engine note to rise then as they make the climb up the hill as we get the green flag, and let's go racing then. Ferrari Challenge, Coppa Shell, and I said Jan Bernier could be a danger man right at the start of this, and well, as you can see, all cars are going through okay, and well, very, very interesting start there. Because somebody getting the real benefit of that start, and whether Cyril Choksi just losing out right at the very start of the race. It's difficult to tell when the cars are running uphill, as there you can see them going almost 3 abreast there as we go into the Shell AM class, and Jerry Walters there in the 171 car fending off from those drivers that are pushing behind, and Jeff Nunberg is one of those that I can see in the mix as well. So cars climbing uphill here at the Circuit of the Americas, which is quite an undulating circuit. It's not until you've been round this circuit that you realise just the elevation changes that there are, Tony, and there are quite some elevation changes, that's for sure. So the 120 car of Talil Scher then, right in the mix there as go past that camera point for the first time of asking this opening lap of the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell drivers. It is Coppa Shell and Coppa Shell AM drivers, and the Shell drivers with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen. Overtakes already, Tony.
I think we need to have a replay on the start to see if the second place driver was in front of the leader already before the line. We need to see if Choksi was too late with the green flag, or did the second place driver jumpstart.
Well, we were saying there that Ray Acosta really wanting to thank the team, of course, and for all the work that was done earlier on. We will, of course, keep you informed. We have feeds in from race control all the time, advising us what's going on and what isn't going on. But there we can see the Cyril Choksi car, and I would have thought that probably Cyril Choksi. I don't know. I can't read the start, but Jan Bernier. I have to say I don't get a lot of things right, Tony, but I said Jan Bernier could be a danger man, and Jan Bernier did go through and has picked up now. At the moment, it's on the graphics, it is saying P1 for Jan Bernier. So whether Cyril Choksi just didn't go quite when he should have done and Jan was able to take advantage of that, as you say, till we see the replay of the start, we don't know. So it is Bernier from Choksi from Ray Acosta, who's P3. Then it's Eric Marston. John Viscup around has got Jerry Walters. So the 171 car is around, regrettably. Looks like there's been contact. I can't ID who the other car is involved in that, but Jerry Walters has gone around, which is such a shame. Had done such a good job in qualifying. Managed to get the car pointing in the right direction again. I do fear there could be some debris on the track there, Tony.
Yeah, there was some contact, and obviously we saw one car spinning. We didn't see the action just before that what happened going into turn one. I think the debris is a little bit offline. It's further from the apex of the corner, so
okay.
not really on the racing line. But let's see the calls from the race direction now, what they decide.
So for our Coppa Shell drivers, Jan Bernier is leading Cyril Choksi and Ray Acosta. They're the 1, 2, 3. For the AM drivers, well, that's going to be all changed because we're seeing Jerry Walters' car pointing in the wrong direction. There is Jan Bernier. There is Cyril Choksi, who right now is beginning to reel Jan Bernier in again. So Cyril Choksi then, who done such a good job in qualifying, and Ray Acosta is just keeping them within sight, as we can hear some tyre squeals in the background there. And that'll be the reason why the 102 car of Gabe Harib,
that's a big one,
has made contact somewhere, and Gabe Harib then, that car, looks like there's quite some damage to the back of that car, Tony.
Yeah, the right rear tire is bended inside, so into the rear frame, so there's been quite a heavy damage either with the other car or even with the barrier, so I think we have a safety car.
Well, certainly full course yellow for the moment. The Ferrari of Atlanta driver Gabe Harib then unfortunately, so early doors in this race, we have got a full course yellow then, and here we can see the cars climbing up the hill. Sorry, I was just distracted, just looking at the timing screen to see who is dropping down the order here. Big beneficiary in Coppa Shell AM is Darren Bernstein and Steve Czech, who are up to P2 and P3. There's some debris that I mentioned across the track here. Jan Bernier, Cyril Choksi and Ray Acosta, the 1, 2, 3 in Coppa Shell. In Coppa Shell AM, it's Talal Sher from Darren Bernstein and Steve Czech. We ride on board here of the Lisa Clark car. Lisa Clark, of course, elevated into Shell this year, having been Shell AM champion last year. Lisa Clark, a very well-travelled racer who races not only here in North America but also across various rounds of the European Series as well. As indeed has Jan Bernier done so also, and Cyril Choksi running P2, Ray Acosta P3. Of course, this potentially, Tony, plays into the hands a little bit of Cyril Choksi, who may feel that he can retake that P1 position to which he will feel entitled. And I have to say, given we've seen no warnings across our screen, and Jan Bernier is retaining that P1 position, I just think that he anticipated the greens better than Cyril. Let's get a replay of the start, Tony, so you can call this and see what you think. Here it is. So Cyril Choksi's on the right-hand side as we look at it, and Jan Bernier on the left-hand side. This in replay underneath the gantry, and
I didn't see the exact moment from the green flag, but was definitely down to the acceleration. So probably just a better reaction from Bernier to react to that green flag, and because just when the image was really clear, the leading driver was ahead, but then the next view we had, Bernier was already in front of Choksi. So I think once we get back to green, it will be a tight battle between these two. Maybe Choksi showed a little bit more pace on the opening laps. He recovered one place back, and then he was chasing leading driver Bernier. So once we get the track cleared, let's say with the barrier, there was some
Looked like there were some repairs got to be done there, Tony.
Big damage on the barrier, so I might even predict a red flag and repairs on the barrier, but let's see what's the call.
Yes, okay, our race stewarding team, of course, will decide what is best for our drivers and also for the safety of the workers that are working on their barriers as well, Tony.
Yeah, you can see the marks on the tarmac that the car went very heavily to the left, had an impact on the guardrail, and then kept spinning through the across the track, and then ended up here down right on the TV screen, and it's been now recovered. But Bud is recovering the race car, but we need to get the racetrack back in the condition the way it was homologated. So I think the actual fence, the guardrail is the biggest issue right now. And obviously that the drivers are okay, but we are assuming they are. So
we've got a red flag, as you predicted, Tony.
Yes.
So, and the reason for that is because the integrity of the safety around the track has to be first class, Tony. It has to be unhindered 100%. And
yes.
If, barriers have got to be repaired.
Yes, exactly. Even if the cars are cleared, everything is ready to go. If the barrier has really reformed, there's opening in the barrier, it's not safe anymore, and it doesn't take the impact the same way anymore. So this might take some time now.
Okay. Well, we will see.
But you were telling me earlier that you are free for tonight, so we are not busy. We are not in a hurry.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. So the cars then will be taken, we assume, back to the pit lane. And the reason for this is, we should explain, and you've raced and won hundreds of races. Do you know what I mean? That when you've got officials and repair workers out there having to make repairs, then even with cars so slowly behind a safety car, you know, it has to be made safe for those repair workers to carry out their duties as well.
Yeah, that is true. So just to clear the track from the cars passing around and give to the marshals, give to the track repair personnel just the right environment to work. But also for these drivers, we have 21 minutes left, so give them a proper race one. So let's get the track back in the right condition, and then we go racing.
So our Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell race has been red flagged for the moment, and the reason for that is Gabe Harib, the Ferrari of Atlanta driver, making contact with the barriers and barrier repairs having to be effected, which means we have this red flag. To give you a bird's eye view, if you like, and driver's eye view, if you like, of this COTA circuit, Roberto Perina earlier on in the weekend was kind enough to give us his view and an onboard lap of the Circuit of the Americas.
Hi, my name is Roberto Perina, driver of the number 55 296 Challenge, and I'm going to take you for a lap around Circuit of the Americas. So coming down the front straight, super high speed, getting up to 6th gear, coming under the start-finish tower, and hard brakes here, down to 3rd gear, and rotate the car and get it going. Get back to the left because you've got to get hard back to the right, up onto the curbs if possible. Full throttle here. Try to maintain a lot of throttle through the bridge and into the S's where it's just coast and hold on and get the car turned into turn 6 where it's a little light brake downshift, and try to get back on that throttle as quickly as you can. Light brake for 7, make that turn, get back on that throttle really hard. Hard brake for 8 and throttle up the hill, little lift, back onto the throttle as hard as you can get it. And we get going on what I call the back straight, or the medium back straight, into turn 11, which is an uphill brake zone, down to 3rd gear, back onto the throttle as hard as you can. Try to get a really good exit. This is a super long straight. I like to check my emails and have a coffee here if I can. Come all the way down this back straight, 6th gear. This is massive, 170 miles an hour. Down to about the 150, big brake zone, lots of bumps. Down to 3rd gear, again, hard left-hander for 12. And then super hard brake for 13. Back to the apex and try to get as much throttle here as you can, but you're rotating pretty quickly. Hard brake for 15 settle the car, rotate it, super important, and then back on the throttle as quickly as you can to get back to the left, and then back to the right under the bridge, and it's the carousel. It's just hold on and somewhat pray. And then come into turn 19, which I think is the hardest corner on the track. It's a brake zone, downshift, and hard left. Very important to get a good launch here into 20, get that brake zone right, get the downshift down to third, and again, get a good launch onto the front straight, because this is a good passing zone into turn 1. And that's a lap of Circuit of the Americas.
Thank you. Reinforcing the integral safety of these Ferrari 296 Challenge cars, the fact that Gabe Harib, who made contact with the barriers, has walked away perfectly okay, is absolutely fine. As we're just walking past the Chuck Whittle car, and then the next car that we can see to the left-hand side is the Bruce Cleveland car, and there you can see the teams making the barrier repairs. And you always know that when you see sledgehammers being wielded, Tony, I don't think this is going to be the work of a moment, friend.
Yeah, let's see how long it takes. Sometimes, like races like Le Mans, you could see that they actually cut a part of the fence away and just throw in a new piece of the fence. There we had some tractor pulling the fence back in, and then the track workers working hard on the other side. So let's see how this works out.
Well, there is Tal Al-Sher then, who at the time of the red flag was leading the Coppa Shell Am race. And some beautiful, some lovely shots that we're seeing there. Now, I would suggest here this is nothing other than debris being picked up from an earlier skirmish, perhaps between one or two of the drivers. The track team using the opportunity whilst barrier repairs are ongoing to make sure the track is as clean and tidy as it can possibly be, with various bits of carbon being picked up. And hello to you up there on the observation tower, and I hope you're well. Bit of cloud around, and just hope that cloud doesn't open and a little bit of rain falls. Anyway, somebody that will be able to tell us exactly how it's looking. Of course, you and I, Tony, are in this studio. Down there in the open air is Shay Adam.
You just had to mention it, didn't you, Dave? It was actually spitting about 30 seconds before you said that. So, yes, it was very, very inconsistent, though. But while we've got an opportunity of a red flag, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the rules, because I am a stickler for rule books, and the rules are no different for Ferrari Challenge than they are for any IMSA weekend, because IMSA sanctions this series. So when there's a red flag, you may have one crew member come out and bring a bottle of water to the driver if you so choose. So that's why we see one crew member per car, some of them holding water bottles, some of them with the drivers actually taking in the water, but they are keeping the door open, trying to keep the driver a little bit cooler, because it is a Texas day today. It's not Texas summer, but it's definitely warm, and everybody is just waiting for that command to be given to fire the engines back up and get back out on the track. I actually happened to be hanging out in race control the other day when we had a very similar situation. A car went off at the exit of turn 1, did damage the barriers, and then the barriers needed to be repaired. The track services at Circuit of the Americas are phenomenal. They managed to get this section out and a new one put in place within about 5 minutes. So hopefully this section of barrier is no more difficult to repair. The guardrail can be installed anew, and we can get back to some Ferrari racing. The clock, I'm hearing, will be adjusted, but it is yet to be determined by how much, i.e. how much time will be left in this race when we get going once again.
Thank you, Shay. As always, valuable input. That to me looks like the crew have left that, Tony, and that's as good as done. And the engines are being fired up, I'm being told by our producer. So we're about to go again. So well done to everyone, and thank you, Shay, for keeping us updated and informed down there. So one crew member per car allowed then in the pit lane under the red flag. And we're being told that the clock is going to be potentially adapted and adjusted, as well as the safety car is now leading the cars away back out on track again. So we're going to get back to racing. Jan Bernier, Cyril Choksi, Ray Acosta, the top three in our Shell drivers. For our Shell Am drivers, it's Tal El-Sher from Darren Bernstein and Steve Czech, who are the 1, 2, 3 in Shell Am. So it's all mixed up in Shell Am, and the reason for that is the Jerry Walters. Now, whether it was Roy Carroll, that I can't. We saw the Jerry Walters car around. We weren't able to ID who the other car involved in that is, but by dint of where they are on the timing screen, you would suspect it was potentially Roy Carroll.
Yeah, there was a contact going into turn 1, and we saw some debris from the contact, but we couldn't see the other car. And we also didn't see what happened earlier that ended up causing the spin for the driver. So I must say it was a quick action from the track workers, and now we are back on track, getting the formation and then safety car in, and we are back green and back racing.
And the clock has begun counting down already, so I don't think there was any adjustments to the clock, Tony, so I think the drivers are going to get complete full value for their race duration. It's, has to be said, it's a packed schedule here on a Ferrari Challenge weekend. Of course, Ferrari Challenge, both Trofeo Pirelli and Coppa Shell. We also have the 488 Challenge as well for last year's cars. And then we have Club Challenge and the Competizione GT cars as well. So there's all sorts going on here, and it is a packed schedule, isn't it? What with client activities out there on track as well.
Exactly, long days from 7 a.m. to 7, even 8 p.m. one day was the practice session. So there's a lot of track action, a lot of Ferrari cars on track, and different kind of cars. So we obviously talked already today a lot about the 296 Challenge car, but there is beautiful cars in the Club GT, free track sessions as well. So Ferrari Modificata and other GT driver cars. So that's great action to see as well. So
on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see the order. There is the Jerry Walters car, regrettably running way down the order, having been turned around earlier on in the race. So we remain under the control of the safety car until that peels off into the pit lane, and then it will be the responsibility of Jan Bernier to set the pace of this restart as we go back to racing once again. What have we got? Just under 20 minutes of racing to come from the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell. Their first race of the weekend. Of course, it is the first round of the Ferrari Challenge North America Series here this weekend before heading from here to Laguna Seca in California, which is round number 2, which is mid-May, if memory serves me correctly. And there is this surely is going to be an opportunity for Cyril Choksi to retake that P1 position. Of course, he qualified P1, Tony. He'll be champing at the bit to get going again, I would have thought.
Yeah, we will have a good race distance still to go, so it's down again to the performance, tire life, and how drivers are handling the tire wear and whatever comes throughout this remaining time in the race. Now we can see safety car lights off, accelerated already from the crew, and if Choksi wants to make the overtaking maneuver, he needs to be really close to the leading driver, Bernier, and now is the key moment in this race. 18.5 minutes to go, so there's still plenty of time.
Green flag is flying. Let's go back to racing again. Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell here at the Circuit of the Americas as they scream up towards the turn number 1, and I would have suggested Jan Bernier did a pretty good job of that restart. Under braking now into turn number 1. If anything, Cyril Choksi was under a little bit of pressure there from Ray Acosta. He runs wide now to Cyril Choksi, but holds on to that P2 place. And in fairness, I think Eric Marston has got past Ray Acosta for P3. Yes, look, we've got a red car now ahead of the red and yellow car of Ray Acosta. And Bruce Cleveland also trying to make moves as well. He's got Chuck Whittle well within his sights right now. And, well, we get this race back underway again. Always at the restart, there are opportunities for drivers to make hay and try and get on terms. Eric Marston's certainly very, very happy with his car. He was telling me at lunchtime how he was really enjoying driving this racing car. And Jan Bernier and Cyril Choksi, they've broken away from both Eric Marston and Ray Acosta a little bit. And Cyril Choksi, for my money, was really beginning to put the pressure on Jan Bernier there. So you can see the top two have broken away a bit. For Shell Am, it is Talal Sher from Darren Bernstein. Jeff Nunberg running in P3. He's obviously managed to find a way past Steve Check. And then it's Roger Monteforte right from the back of the pack, I believe, running in P5. Love that sound of these cars, 6-cylinder cars, I should say, running past our camera point. And Jan Bernier then, for the moment, seems to have everything completely under control, Tony.
Yeah, still quite clean up at the front. We saw one change between the drivers in P3 and P4. Two groups separating, the first and the second driver, and then Marston Acosta fight is the next one. And now the timing and scoring here is still showing Acosta P3, but that's obviously not the case.
No, Eric Marston did get past Ray Acosta. Coppa Shell, and then it is Talal Scher from Darren Bernstein and Jeff Nunberg then running P3, P1, 2 and 3 with Steve Czech, and here is Talal Scher and Darren Bernstein then. Great drive from Darren to put it up to P2. Another lap he's put into the book then, and we've got just under 16 minutes of the Coppa Shell race to come. And here comes Cyril Choksi really mounting the pressure on the race leader Jan Bernier now, but Jan seemingly got it all under control, and it's Cyril Choksi who's going to have to try and encourage a mistake to come from Jan Bernier. But if anything, Eric Marston's getting a bit closer to Cyril Choksi, so this, and this is a difficult position. When oh, goodness me, that's Neil Langberg, who is into the barriers in the 153 car. Neil Langberg for Ferrari South Bay has made contact with the barriers. So inevitably, with the car stricken there, what was it you said a little bit earlier on, Mr. T. Verlander, about safety cars and red flags can sometimes, as Cyril Choksi dives to the inside of Jan Bernier. Now we're not under a yellow at the moment, so if Cyril Choksi is able to get by Jan Bernier here, it should be allowed to count. But Jan Bernier accelerating hard here. They are absolutely side by side. This is for the lead of the race. So Cyril Choksi and Jan Bernier side by side. Can Cyril break the speed? Eric Marston is in behind Jan Bernier. Contact is made and Jan goes around. And now we've got the full course yellow as we expected and predicted for the Neil Langberg car, which is stricken in the barriers. And there is the 153 car and the waved yellows that we can see once again. So, safety car is called for, and we were into the second half of the race with 14 minutes remaining in the race, and it was Jan Bernier and Cyril Choksi. Now, actually, the Cyril Choksi overtake on Jan Bernier, I think, was fair. Then Eric Marston saw an opportunity, and he was going to have a go as well.
Yeah, I think the leader's overtaking and the fight created the other action. And I think now if we go across the line, then on the red flag, then it's the lap that we are seeing now. Otherwise, if the red flag would have come earlier, or let's say we would have gone to the red flag, would have maybe helped Bernier. But unfortunate situation. I think Eric Marston misjudged the situation, and again, similar to the other race where probably he tried to escape from the apex and when he understood that there's no space, and then he touched and the other car spun out. So
Neil Langberg, and you could see him shaking his head there and making contact with the barriers there. Neil's out of the car.
But that was really weird. That was coming out of turn one, I think. Coming into turn one, so that's a bit weird to go straight like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had a contact there in the braking zone, or if he had something else happen, but it was a bit awkward off.
Yeah, we heard it, didn't we, before we saw it, to be fair.
It's true.
So Neil's out of the car, and insofar as we could tell, seemed to be okay. So fingers crossed we hope that is the case. Let's just take a look at another replay here, Tony. Now, this is Jan Bernier and Cyril Choksi. Now, Cyril Choksi, for my money, is through. And in fairness to Eric, there's a hole there. But the top of the yellow was being waved in the background, I think. So, goodness, that's going to be really...
Yeah, anyway, the dynamics of the situation is Eric was in the place that he should have been deeper.
He wasn't far enough along the side.
He wasn't far enough, and Bernier was just covering the place that he lost. He was maybe seeking for another opportunity for the coming corners to try to catch the the lead of the race again.
Fair.
But he wasn't thinking that he needs to cover to the driver who was P3, so Eric Marston. So a little bit of misjudgment from Eric, but also a race situation that created then like a chain effect.
Well, of course, you know, the big loser in that is Jan Bernier, who's now down there in P11 within class, P14 in the race overall, which is a huge shame for Jan Bernier. Cyril Choksi, of course, qualified P1 and lost out right at the start of the race, and we've seen nothing to suggest that Jan Bernier taking the lead of the race was anything other than just a brilliant opportunistic move, and he anticipated the greens but better than Cyril did. But Cyril is back in that P1 position for the moment. Classifying his P2 is Eric Marston. Whether that stays that way, we remain to be seen. Then it's Ray Acosta, Chuck Whittle and Bruce Cleveland up to P5 for the Shell Am drivers. Talil Scher, Darren Bernstein and Roger Monteforte. They are the top three. So that's the way it looks. This is the Circuit of the Americas, and there you can see the Coppa Shell driver Ferrari of Westlake, Eric Marston, driving the 126 car, and we've got another red flag, Tony.
Yeah, I had this in my mind going about the red flag, so this is bad for Bernier. So if the red flag would have come straight away, then you'd normally take the classification for the previous lap. Previous lap. So that this way he could have probably kept his place. But now I think we've done a lap, or we are already on the second lap, so under the full course yellow. So a lot of things happening in this race. We can see some damage on Eric's car. The front splitter in the middle has a quite big damage. So a lot of action in this Coppa Shell race.
What's the rule, Tony, in terms of, and you made the mention of the fact here that you need to be a certain alongside a car before it can be deemed your space. What is it, halfway along the car? Is it 2/3?
No, I think you need to be a little bit even closer, not completely side by side, but the worst case is always that you are close to side by side. The defending driver brakes later, so you try to escape. You sort of try to avoid the contact, but it's too late.
Yes.
So it's either you need to go determined all the way in, and if you try to bail out in the middle, then that's normally when the contact to the rear tire happens. Right. And again, in Eric's situation, this happened, and I think was Matthias Perez Kompak in the other race that was a similar situation. So none of the drivers, in my belief, tried to make a contact.
No, of course not.
They were just in a situation, racing situation, where they then tried to avoid the contact, and that actually created in a way that the other driver spinned out of the race.
It happens, and you know, I'm sure it's happened to you many times. I would not dare to suggest that you've tapped anyone, Tony. I mean, come on.
There's been a few occasions.
Right. The rule is, the IMSA rule is, one crew member is allowed to go to each of the drivers and offer perhaps a bottle of water or something. You know, there is the door of the Cyril Choksi car is opened, and you can see IMSA officials down there to make sure that everyone does everything by the rule book, and we have a red flag. What's interesting about this red flag for me, Tony Verlander, is the clock is continuing to count down, which isn't always the case, is it?
Yeah, let's see if it's on purpose or if it's something that then will be adjusted. But if this clock now keeps moving on, I think we are close to the race end, because this will take a lot of time. We can see the softening barriers being out of shape, so this takes time. Even the car that is stuck now in the gravel, to get it out, it will take
longer than the 7.5 minutes we've got.
Yeah, well, it will take a few minutes, but still going to the situation that caused the red flag was a bit awkward, because the car went like sort of straight off. So,
well, of course, we debut the 296 this weekend in the Ferrari Challenge, and earlier on we sent Tony Verlander to get some impressions from some of the drivers about this wonderful new racing car.
Hello everyone, my name is Tony Verlander. I've been with Ferrari as a works driver for the last 18 years. But this weekend we are in COTA for the Ferrari Challenge North America, and we have a brand new car to show you, 296 Challenge. And let's go and find out some comments from the drivers. Okay, we are here with Dylan, and he has the first laps on his belt with the 296 Challenge car. Can you share a little bit the general feeling of the new car?
The general feeling of the new 296 car, it feels much more like a race car. As they said, it was built from a 296 GT3 car. So as you can tell, it's a lot more aerodynamic, and around the track it feels like it grips a lot more, especially in the corners.
For the driver, it's always very exciting to get into the new car. So when you were doing those first laps, what was the impression?
I had the biggest smile on my face. The second we got out of pit lane, the second I stepped on the throttle, my grin was massive. It's just an amazing, amazing feeling.
We are here with Lisa Clark, and we know that you take your racing very seriously. This year, brand new car, first impressions on the 296 Challenge.
Wow, it's quite an amazing car. Definitely, you got to keep up with the horsepower with it, and especially on the turn-ins entry. It's amazing. Really enjoying it, and yeah, just trying to learn as much as I can before this weekend.
Is the car handling really differently compared to the 488?
I would say it definitely handles differently in certain ways. You know, it's great on braking. I'm fine on that. I think for me, it's just exiting and realizing the speed that carries, especially in the rear, and just trying to stay on top of that is kind of my challenge over here.
So Jeff, I was there last year in Finale Mugello when you won your first race ever, but now it's another thing, the new 296 Challenge car. So how is the work progressing?
So it's a completely different car. There's really nothing familiar with the other than they're both Ferraris with the car. But this car, the brake is brake by wire, so you have to be different on the brakes. It's more downforce, more horsepower, wider tires. Just a very exciting car to drive.
We know here in COTA the track is a Formula One Grand Prix level. Which is the parts of the track that are impressing you the most with this new car?
Well, the car sticks in every turn. So, you know, I've been struggling a little bit in the mechanical grip turns just to deal with the car, because the car's so much better than I am.
And what is your prediction for the weekend? More wins coming this season?
Well, you know, that's always the goal, Tony. I want to win a lot. So, you know, we don't do this to come in second place.
All right, good luck for the weekend.
Always great to hear from the drivers and get an opportunity to hear from them. We've got an opportunity right now because we're under a bit of a red flag, but some of the drivers have actually asked permission from the race control officials if they can take a little bit of a bathroom break. So we're just waiting for some of the drivers to actually come back to their cars while this Tech Pro barrier repair is ongoing. And while we've got this opportunity, the sun is out for the first time this weekend. It is properly a beautiful day. I just want to dive over here and see if maybe we can do something a little bit uncouth, something we haven't done yet this year. Ray Acosta, Ray, do you mind if I bother you really quickly? I just want to have a quick chat with you because the start of this race has gone well so far. Do you think that maybe a podium is on tap for today?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a challenge here, but, you know, I've made a couple of mistakes, and I'm hopefully going to continue to track on here on third place and hopefully make podium here.
Well, I think we've got news from race control. There might be some happy news for you in a couple of seconds, but that is for Dave to break, not for me. Dave, what's going on?
Do you know what, Shay? Tony Verlander, you've been watching everything here, and you can see the repairs that are going on. What's the news? We think that it's going to be curtailed.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time left, so let's see what's the call.
Well,
and we just had it in our screen.
It's confirmed. There it is. So, Cyril Choksi is out of the car then, and is it a bit of a when you won a race like this, Tony? You know, he was in front, wasn't he? But you know, it's kind of it's an odd way to win a race, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there was might be even some information from the team. Because when the actual situation happened is when Choksi started to make his moves. So maybe he was informed that there might be another safety car coming or another full course yellow. And that's when we saw his move, and not clearly into turn 11, but then the whole side-by-side going on the straight and into turn 12. So interesting to ask from Cher to the driver that is it something that he knew that there was something happening on track?
Well, let's find out. If Shay can find out, she will. So, Cyril Choksi, what's the deal here, Shay?
Yeah, Cyril, when did you have any sort of indication that any of this was going to be taking place?
This was a crazy race. I had a really bad start. I hit the rev limiter coming out into turn 1. I got passed twice, but I said, you know what? I feel good. made a mistake, let's just keep going. Now, obviously, there was a lot of mess on the track. Don't love to win a race that didn't finish, but great battle. I have family and friends here. My wife's here, my son's here. We got a crew of 10, and this one's for them.
It's a bit of history repeating itself as a pole to win from last year, too. What did you learn from the brief race today that you can apply to race 2 tomorrow?
The biggest thing is a clean and quick start is critical. I lost 2 positions out of the gate, and I said, okay, now I've got my work cut out for me. But that's what's fun about racing is you always can get back right at it.
Great job today.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Well done, Cyril Choksi. So, very interesting, because he confirmed what we thought right at the start then. Basically, he was on the rev limiter. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's get confirmation of the results then. Here they are on screen. So Cyril Choksi taking P1, Eric Marston P2, and Ray Acosta P3. Chuck Whittle, Bruce Cleveland, Mitchell Green then take P4, 5, and 6 with Mike Luley P7, Lisa Clark P8, Osvaldo Gallo P9, and Robert McWilliams then taking P10. So those are the top 10 places in our Coppa Shell race. Talil Sher, P11 overall, but winner, of course, in Shell Am, ahead of Darren Bernstein and Roger Monteforte. And I think Roger Monteforte a long way back on the grid, so he's done well to take a podium. Jan Bernier will feel really disadvantaged over that. He finishes P14. Then it was Jeffrey Nunberg, Steve Check, Dana Goodwin, Paul Lynn, Brian Waltersdorf, then finishing P19. Ahead of Jerry Walters, David Williams, Al Heggie, Helen Chu, Neil Langberg, of course, we saw in the barriers, and Roy Carroll had to bring the car in, and John Viscup and Gabe Harib also. So that's the way a very dramatic Coppa Shell race ends, Tony.
Yeah, a lot of action. We got some full course yellow. We got the safety car in twice. Some contacts, a little bit more aggression on track, or maybe misjudgment. So. But again, great action on track and great fight for the lead, especially. So was an exciting race to follow.
And just going back to what we were saying, because you and I were both trying to understand what happened right at the start, and obviously Cyril there, hands up, very honest, hit the rev limiter, said it was my mistake, and big mistake on my part.
Yeah, we often mention that the start is very critical point, where you can either maintain your place or lose relatively a lot for the early part of the race, and that is a mistake that you really need to learn from. So you need to have the right gear when you're about to accelerate, that you can actually pull a fair distance with that gear. So he chose a gear that he was revving more, and once the green flag was out, as soon as he floored the throttle, the car was not pulling anymore. So that's why he lost even 2 places. So P1, he went down to P3. So definitely a thing to improve and not to repeat again. And but he recovered well and managed to get the win.
And of course, the race is never over until the race is over, Tony. So even when you make a mistake like that, it's trying to keep calm, cool, and collected, and how you can recover from that. And with all due respect, he stayed within terms or on terms with Jan Bernier. So an opportunity may have presented itself. Of course, it did present itself, and he was able to take advantage of that. Here is Talil Sher then, who is going to be the winner of the Coppa Shell AM class for the Ferrari of Central New Jersey driver. I have to say, I love the design across Talal's car. Absolutely lovely. And the 296 is wonderful machine, and Talal then will be jumping out of the car, and he will be pretty pleased, I would have thought, that he takes his win in the Ferrari Challenge North America Coppa Shell Am Race 1 of the 2024 season. So congratulations are afforded, and you can see the Darren Bernstein car pulling in alongside as well. So now, if you're new to racing, you can see the crash helmet there, and the sort of framework that's underneath the crash helmet is the hands device. Very, very important in terms of safety. And I think I'm right in saying it's head and neck support, isn't it, Tony, the hands device?
Yeah, this was something that was presented, I would say, almost 20 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago, and was something that first came into Formula One. So in case of an impact, it protects the driver's neck, head, and I must say, when it first came out, was a little bit uncomfortable, something new, didn't really know, what's the purpose of this thing. But once you have few accidents or you hit the barriers and you really know that, and you really appreciate the safety measures that nowadays we have on the race cars, but also on the drivers' equipment. And yeah, it's just important part of the safety, and great work from FIA. And today it doesn't feel awkward. Actually, a driver without hands looks a bit funny, because you're used to that everybody has the hands device.
Yes. And as you say, didn't necessarily meet with universal approval initially, but now you recognise and respect the fact that, of course, we want to make as safe as we possibly can. Talal Sher, then, as I was mentioning, for Ferrari of Central New Jersey, takes the win in Shell-Am, and he's with Shea right now.
Talal, one start in Ferrari Challenge, one win. How does it feel to be a winner in this series?
I think it's great. I mean, this is my first Ferrari Challenge North America, and my first race here, and in COTA, and it's a lovely, fantastic, very challenging circuit. So I feel great. I feel absolutely fantastic, and it's all been, and the team has been outstanding. So it's a great feeling. Thank you.
Congratulations on your first win. More to come.
I hope so. I hope so. I'll do my best. Yeah. They're all great. They're all great drivers here. So.
Well, Talal, very, very happy with that from Shea, from Tony Verlander, and from myself. Thank you so much for watching. Stand by. 488 Challenge race still to come.